Hi everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the unboxing of the Kindred Stamps kit. This is one that sold out super quickly and they did a pre-order a couple months ago and I finally got it today. I think it's been like over 2 months. So super excited to show you guys what I got in here, and I was excited for this. This is such a childhood like favorite and big memory, huge part of my childhood, and then from, watching the girls all the time. So this character was not around when I was little. So what an adorable little pin. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, okay. Got some Oreos. Love me some Oreos. So that's great. Those will definitely be gone. Got a paper pack, and this has all primary colors in it, so this is perfect for this set. If you can't figure out just by the pin what it's about, I will show you the rest of it. Okay, so this is, I think this is called the neighborhood die. Let me see how my lighting is. You okay? Put the lighting down here. Sorry about that if there was too much of a glare. So this is the die that comes along with this. I think this is called Neighborhood Friends. I think that's what the kit is called. So that's the die that comes with it. And then this is, I don't know why, but this is what sold me. So this, I think it is, let's see if it's 2 dies, because I mean 2 stencils. I believe it is. And I am actually going to do not only the unboxing in this video, but we are also going to be making a card. So today happens to be World Card Making Day. Oh yes, it is. Awesome. It is 2 pieces, which is absolutely adorable. I love that. Okay, so today is World Card Making Day, and over on, I think it's Scrapbook today, Scrapbook Cards Today, something like that. They've been having 4 different challenges. Actually, there's 5 challenges, and the second one is a color theme, kind of like what we did for one of the hops last month. And I am going to be using this because all of the colors can be used in this. So I had a totally different idea in mind, but I am going to change what I'm going to do. Oh, look at how cute. And this is absolutely perfect because these are like 3 of the colors that are in the challenge. There's 2 colors of blue. There is a dark brown and a light brown. And then I think yellow is in it. So perfect. And then, oh, 2 shaker packs. How adorable. Super excited to use those. And then we have this stamp set. So this is called Neighborhood Friends, and there are some cute sentiments here. Cookies make everything better. We're probably going to be using that. Here are a couple of the pieces that I pulled out, and I think we will be using these in addition to the stencil and probably 1 or 2 of the stamps on here, and then maybe even the shaker pieces. So we will see. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do, so we'll kind of just take it from there. And then this super oversized bag, which is fantastic. This will be great for bringing craft supplies when I travel, for going anywhere. When I go over and watch my nieces, this will come in handy. I could just throw everything in here that we need for a project. So I am going to pause this video and decide exactly what I'm going to do, and then I will come back and we will get started on making a project. I went through the kit and pulled out the supplies that I needed, and here is the palette. So it is 2 shades of brown, 2 shades of blue, and that yellow. So I decided to go for a deeper, darker yellow, and you see that I'm layering them here. I took a 5x7 card base and cut it down to the same size as that cardstock. The yellow is the same size that from the pack that I used, and it is 5.5 by 6.5 inches. So the card now measures 5.5 by 6.5 inches, and then I cut down this brown piece to a 1/2 inch smaller, so it's a 1/4 inch on every side. And because the stencil is a little bit smaller, you're going to see how I make sure that it's a continuous pattern across the background. So right now I am taking gathered twigs, Distress Oxide, and running that over the open stencil, and I have the very right side of it masked off, because if I didn't, some of those cookies are partially cut off, so it would look funny because that's not the end of the paper. So once I've done that, once I've inked that up, I'm going to adjust the stencil so that I have a continuous pattern. It did take me a couple minutes to figure out how to move the cookies so that it would look like it was continuous. They are a little bit closer together than the other ones, but once the whole thing is together, you're not really going to notice it. And you can see here, I'm trying to figure out which cookies I want to use, how I want to place them down. But once that's done, I go ahead and put the magnet back on the left-hand side, the magnetic ruler, so that it blocks off the cookies that I didn't want. You could do the same thing with some washi tape. If you have some thicker washi tape, some Post-it notes, anything that you have that would block it off. Or if you have small brushes and you're super careful, which is not me, you could just use the brushes. So I tried to see if there was a way that I could line the pattern up to keep it going, but I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, let's just keep going with this. So I'm putting more Gathered Twigs Distress Oxide onto my brush, and I'm going to go over the cookies. I just wanted the cookies to be a little bit darker than the background, but then the morsels or the chocolate chips, when I go ahead and put them on, it's much, much darker. So I left that to dry, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to stamp this monster who loves cookies. I'm using my Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I did ink it up a couple times. I did stamp it down onto a scrap of Canson XL watercolor paper. So I'm just pressing it down. The only thing that didn't really get great impressions are his eyes, and for some reason whenever I stamp characters, the eyes seem to be my trouble spot, but that's really easy to fix. You can just take a black marker and fill them in. So for the chips, I was having a hard time seeing through the stencil to try to line it up. So what I did was I lined up the stencil in the top left-hand corner of this mat, put my paper down where it belonged, and put the ruler where I needed to mark off the right side cookies, the ones that I did second. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the morsels or chocolate chips in the top left corner, block off the ones on the right-hand side again, and then use that. That was the easiest way that I could figure out how to line them up. I know that some other stencils that are layering have the etched marks in it, which is absolutely fantastic. This one didn't, so it was a little bit more difficult. So I am using, what the heck is this color? I can't even remember. I feel like I said it before. It wasn't, I used Gathered Twigs and then, Ground Espresso. Sorry, guys. My brain just went blank for a second. So I'm using Ground Espresso to add the morsels to it. Now, I say morsels because I worked for Nestle for 12 years and we never called them chocolate chips. We always called them morsels, but I know that most people call them chocolate chips. So it's a hard habit to break after 12 years of selling it and always calling them morsels. So I did the left side, and then I did pretty much the same thing with the right. I lined up the cookies once I figured out what I did, because I didn't start it again on one side, because you couldn't really do that because you can see that there's only part of a cookie there, and I didn't want it to, I didn't want a partial cookie in the middle of my paper. So I'm just lining it up in the top right-hand corner this time with the stencil, and then I can lay the other piece down and do the exact same thing that I did before. It was the easiest thing that I could think of to do. Once I was finished inking those up, the background is complete, and then we can move on to the coloring of the monster. So I am using my Derwent Inktense watercolor pencils. I find this to be one of the easiest ways for me to watercolor. I did not want to do more distressed ink or distress oxide. I had done that a couple times in the past couple days, so I thought that I would just use the pencils. So I'm just adding a little bit of color to the image and then using some water and a clean brush and just pulling it down. So I will do the first layer of the coloring. And again, this is really, really simple coloring. I'm not doing any difficult techniques. So I'm going to edit out some of this because it's basically repetitive. While the image was drying, I decided to go back and work on the background. Because the yellow piece was perforated on one side where it was attached to the paper pack, you could see the white core. So what I decided to do was go around all four edges with some fossilized amber distress oxide to make sure that you couldn't see the white core of the paper. I didn't cut any of the other sides down, so I probably only had to do it on one side, but I just wanted to make sure it all matched. And I thought fossilized amber was a great color match for that background piece. I then took some Honeybee Bee Creative glue, put it on the back of the stenciled up piece, and then put that onto the yellow background piece. Now that stenciled piece is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the yellow piece on all four sides. And I put that to the side to let the Distress Oxide dry off of it because before I did that, I'm going to attach this little blue strip to the left-hand side. So because there were two colors of blue, I picked this. This was the lighter color of blue, and this was from the paper pack from the Neighborhood Friends set that you saw earlier in the video. I'm just going to use that same Honeybee glue to add glue to the back of it and then attach it on there. I don't exactly get it on straight, and I don't realize until after the glue has already adhered to the paper, but again, it's handmade, and those kinds of things happen, especially when you're eyeballing things. So I will cut off the excess, wipe off the glue, and then put that to the side, and then go back in and add a little bit more color to my monster. So my monster is the second color of blue from that palette. And again, I'm going in with a little bit of a darker blue pencil now to add some of the shading, like underneath his arms, underneath his eyes, on the top of his face, where his belly would overlap his legs, and a couple other places on the monster. And then we are going to move to the mouth. The monster's mouth is always black, so I used some, I think it's just called ink black, from the Derwent Inktense pencils, and then just went ahead, scribbled some of that down, and then added the water to my brush and then blended it out. Again, I didn't do anything super fancy. These images are very tiny, so there wasn't a lot of room to blend in them. And, I also decided at this point I wanted to do a shaker card, and I knew that it would be behind the tool, so you weren't really going to be able to see a ton of details. I fussy cut the image out off camera, went around the edges with a black marker, so again, you wouldn't see the white core of the paper in case I didn't cut it out perfectly, which I definitely didn't do. Used the Honeybee Bee Creative glue on the back of it and placed it onto the background. Now I'm taking a piece of tulle that I cut off camera and wrapping it around the background piece. So I'm going to put tape on all four sides, and this is where I would use the tape runner and not wet glue because I think that it just sticks better to the tool. I haven't done a tool shaker card in a really, really long time, and I used to do these all the time and I loved them. It's probably one of the first shaker cards I think I ever made, and I love them because they're flat panels, so you don't need any of the foam tape to do it, so you can't use any really large shaker pieces. But all of these were fairly flat, and I thought they would look good together. So I'm putting the tool, or I'm attaching the tool on 3 of the sides. You need to leave the one side open so that you can put the shaker pieces in. But I'm also cutting off some of the excess tool so that, that's not too bulky on the back. The first shaker bits that I am using are ones that came in the kit, and it is that same monster with some cookie pieces. So those are going, and I think there's 2 different size cookie pieces in there. And once I put those in, I realized that it's not enough. So I go through my stash, and this is a new for September Sparkle Blends from Doodles Paper Playground, and this is called a cold one. Now, obviously, I'm not going to, since these are kids characters, I'm not going to use the beer pieces from that. So I put them back in there, but it had that yellow in it. It was also on my desk, so I really was kind of lazy about that. And I put that in there. And then I think this is called Winter Sunrise. And this had some yellow and blue in there and really, really pretty shades of both of them. And I thought it worked nicely with the colors in the card. So I'm just going through the blend and pulling out the pieces that I want. And this is an older blend. So added that in there. I also added some little diamond gems that I had, and I don't really remember where they were from. And then I'm going to take that fourth side and fold that over, cut off the excess, and shake it. Make sure everything is shaking properly and moving, and it's not that I have enough. So now I'm going to take that pre-made card base that was 5x7, and I cut it down to 4.5 by 5.5 inches. Run some ATG over the entire thing, open it up, and then attach the panel to the front of the card. The last part of the card that I am going to do is to stamp the sentiment on the inside, and I'm using that same cookie one that I thought I was going to use in the beginning. I'm just going to be brave and use one of my blocks to go ahead and stamp the sentiment out on. I'm using the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, the same ink that I stamped the monster up in, to ink up this sentiment, and then I'm going to stamp it down. And that is the end of the card. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that you had fun if you participated in World Card Making Day. I hope that you had a great day. And I will see you guys again real soon for another video. Bye!